Yo, happy Wednesday. Here we are again for the finale. We're going to wrap this book up today. Hope you've been loving it. Hope you've been enjoying it. Hope I better check to make sure my sound is good real quick before I say any more. All right, where are you? Where are you, Jay? We know you're live. Come on. There he is. Nice. Okay, how's that sound, everyone? It's great. It's really good. Okay, we'll get that music rocking. Mute myself since we know that part's good. And here we go. Excellent. So, happiest of Wednesdays. I already said that, but I'm saying it again. Or whatever day you come across this. Maybe it's a Saturday. Maybe that's not what you call it in your culture. Maybe you call it Viernes. That's Friday in Spanish, Espanol. Oh, ho, ho, ho. And the first and most prominent of goddesses comes in. What's up, one true goddess? So good to have you here. I already checked, but let me know. Can you hear that music okay? My voice should be fine. All right, then. So, should we, like yesterday, do a little oracle read from the prayer cards? Or, thank you so much. Okay, she said, once your goddess says sounds great, and I know it definitely sounds great. Wonderful. So should we do a little oracle like yesterday from the prayer cards, or would you like me to read you a quick prayer? I promise, really quick, 2 verses prayer of the goddess herself. How should we start out today? Go ahead, let me know. I got them both right here, so I don't need to travel far to get it. Quick prayer of the goddess sounds about right. Sweet. Well, if you say so, then I definitely know that's the case. Okay. So, this is called the Devi Mai, manifestation of the goddess. O mother, is there any vibration that is not your song? Your body is the form of all sound. In cognizing your eminent form of divinity, my mind has moved beyond thoughts and reflections. O destroyer of all obstructions, granter of welfare, recognizing you as such, as she who gives birth to all that moves and moves not. Even these brief moments of my appearance in life should be spent without other thoughts than singing your praises, chanting your names, and offering of my devotion. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Dub VT, welcome in. Good to see you. Okie dokie. Well, that's a fact right there. Because there, just like she's here with us now, there is only one true goddess out there. Seek her out. She might seek you out. Shoot, she likes to do that. All right, well, let's just go ahead and get right into it. Did anybody get a chance to make one of their birth talismans yet? I didn't. I will, but I basically spent all day yesterday after I hopped off here working. So, but the forecast is saying that we should have some days that might be days spent indoors coming up, And so if that's the case, I'll do it then. And if not, then I'll still just probably get to it here pretty quickly in the next couple days. I suggest you do the same. But it was probably best we wait because this last bit I feel is still going to be very crucial. This chapter 8, charging a talisman. Well, it would probably be very beneficial to know how to charge that talisman up, huh? So let's get it cracking. And if you're just coming in, welcome. So glad to have you here. All right, charging a talisman. Now we come to the important part of how to bring the talisman to life, to connect the object you have chosen to be the talisman with the current that will create a living outlet, as it were, for that particular current, also designated force. In a modern sense, we can imagine this outlet as an electrical outlet, wall plug, into which we plug the talisman instrument, which we can imagine as like an electrical appliance or electrical motor, then running on the power coming from the inner planes of the physical cosmos. Contrary somewhat to the process that take place on this outer physical plane, in which there is often only one way of doing one certain thing, such as driving a nail with a hammer. In occult processes, there are endless ways of accomplishing the same process. As you must have ascertained by now, all occult processes are accomplished through the agency of the great magical agent called the astral light. The astral light has also been referred to by Eliphas Levi as the/a chameleon. The chameleon is a lizard-like creature that takes on the coloring of whatever surroundings it rests on, and thus so does the astral light. The astral light takes on the character of whatever you desire it to do/be. Dion Fortune said in one of her books that any act performed with intention becomes a right. Thus, you can charge your talisman with a right that fits in with your personality, ability, and knowledge. Even though what books are available on the subject have elaborate ceremonies set up with all kinds of magical apparatus and carryings on connected thereto. Regarding the methods of charging, begin to think of the process in somewhat modern terms of magnetizing. You are at liberty to use any and all methods you fancy. If you feel you want to develop and use an elaborate ceremony, then do so by all means. You can find a number of different books, some of which are listed at the end of this book. However, keep in the secret recesses of your mind the understanding that what you are doing basically is connecting the Christian called living water, astral light, to the talisman object you have chosen. This is done, I expect, by almost any method as long as you know what you are doing. Intention is the magic power that does it. Here, heretofore, we have considered some materials from which talismans can be made, and I give you diagrams and directions for making birth talismans, the purpose of which was to bring you into closer relationship with your birth sign and your planetary ruler. You should have made this birth talisman by now, and it should be working. Well, Ophiel. Maybe some people who have read already went ahead and did that. But we will. Don't you worry, Ophiel. We will. I also laid out a section describing the four elemental forces and also what they consisted of and what powers they conferred on you when you understood them. Also, remember that the Hindu prana is the composite of the five elemental forces into one. Now, we will consider still another kind of talisman other than an organic object charged with prana. We will consider a talisman made for a specific purpose and with a specific job in mind. I laid out in my third book and also in my fourth some detailed information about the tree of life and the gods of the tree. The books were The Art and Practice of the Occult and The Art and Practice of Clairvoyance. If you read these two books, if you did not, then you had better read them soon. You will recall that in the conception slash idea of the tree of life, you found that with a little creative thought, practically every physical thing in the physical plane universe can be linked or filed away, as Dion Fortune said, to one of the Sephiroth. And as I showed in the two books mentioned, each of these Sephiroths was linked to a god or goddess. Which god or goddess ruled the subject slash object being treated? To rule a thing means to make the rules under which the thing is governed. I can also use the word governed in this same sense. Therefore, when you desire to create a talisman for a definite purpose, you should know automatically, as a form of magic thinking, that you must get in touch with the god or goddess that rules the object you are trying to influence and persuade him or her to help you accomplish what you desire. Oh, also, the PDF is linked again in the description for anybody who wants to read along and follow along. Welcome in. For all those who just popped in, good to have you here. And those two books, so the Art and Practice of the Occult, I already read on this channel, and Travis already read the Art and Practice of Clairvoyance on his channel. So if you, like Ophiel said, if you haven't, go ahead and catch up on those. I think mostly everybody in this group has already. But if you haven't, yeah, go ahead. That clairvoyance one especially was really good. I like that one a lot. I mean, I like the occult as well, but all of his, like I said yesterday, all of his have been pretty good for what's really good in them. And that little bit that kind of makes you go, huh, is pretty minimal. Okay. However, you now know the knowledge in my books that the gods are merely forces, combinations of forces, which forces are clearly shown on the tree of life diagrams in my books. Therefore, when you go to make a talisman for a special certain purpose, you must do some work on it. And this is where magic is an art. Also, this is why I set up the section on the elemental forces and asked you to draw and paint a set of elemental diagram cards for your use and your future studies use, which, if you have not done yet, you should do soon. Definitely, I second that. So, now to the special talisman we are discussing. I think that from now on, we will consider an example of a special talisman and build up the knowledge directions on that because any and all others would be about the same process. Also, I will add additional knowledge parts as I go along as they occur to me as being helpful to you. This kind of talisman we are going to work with here is not, as said before, done with objects of different kinds of organic materials, but is rather to consist of symbols drawn on a suitable material, which brings us again to a slight contradiction as this talisman should be made slash drawn on virgin parchment. Now, virgin, unused parchment is not cheap, nor has it ever been in history, seeing as it is the skin of a goat or lamb. Thank you for that new subscription. The size you should use is 4 by 4. Also, you should, in view of the cost of parchment, make a paint and number of complete talismans on artboard for practice until you are somewhat skilled in the whole process. Or even if you just got a little sketchbook, yeah, practice them in there, get them down, and then put it on that nicer. And I never knew parchment was made out of goat skin or lamb skin. Huh. Well, the things you learn. So then, let us consider that you want something that lies under the jurisdiction of Zeus. Suppose you want guidance in the selection of a super stock in the stock market. You will find by consulting the section at the end of this chapter called The Categories of Physical Existence that stocks, speculation, and gambling are governed slash ruled by Zeus. Then you will find where Zeus is located by looking at the diagram on page 118. And you will see that Zeus is located on the Tree of Life diagram in the fire section under the water column. which makes him water of fire. Then, if you will consult the diagram on page 119 of this book, water of fire is the diagram in the fourth column over from the left and three down from the top, and is thus a triangle, red and green, with half a white circle and the other half black. When you have completed the above search, you have found that Zeus is water of fire, and you have some idea of what you have to set up on your talisman. You can practice as follows, but these illustrations I am giving and all other illustrations you see in the books that are listed at the end of this book are only guides and suggestions. They are not to be copied, and attempts should not be made to use them. Another person cannot make a talisman for you. It would be no good. Another person cannot make a talisman for you. It will be no good. Keep that real in mind. You must make your own no matter what, as only your own is a personal talisman and can work for you. Let yourself go. Follow the basic directions, but add whatever suits your fancy and is your personal touch. Let us proceed with the Zeus talisman example. Here I'll give you what I would do and have done is for any of you who are familiar with the sigil method that was popularized. Austin Osman Spare didn't create the sigil method. However, he came up with the method that most everybody uses now. So I would also sigilize. So he gave the example of guidance in the stock market. So you would write that out, turn that into a sigil, and then probably add that in somewhere along with this combination top diagram he's going to show us on this next page here. Let us proceed with the Zeus talisman example. The main idea here is that you know that Zeus is a combination force and not a personalized god. The ordinary ancient Zeus worshipper considered him a real god and acted and felt accordingly. You might feel at a little disadvantage because you know Zeus is not a personalized god being, but you are more educated and your mind is trained and you know things that the ancients did not know. Excuse me. You know that the forces that make up Zeus are 1. The elemental force of fire, 2. The elemental force of water. So he is water of fire. Okay, and I'll stop right there so we can look at these diagrams real quick. Okay, so here he has an outline of the tree of life, air column, water column, fire column, but then also supernal trinad, air, the I can't remember which one. I got these two. I think astral and anyway, fire and water triad, and then earth is just all down here chilling by itself. Got the combo platter of it all. So yeah, you see Zeus is over here at what would be Chesed, Jupiter, and that is fire. It's in the fire triad, but it's in the water column. So then he said over here we would want to go to. I believe he said it where I better double check. I believe he said it was the water of fire, so I'm pretty sure it's gonna be that one because that's water in fire. But I know he told us 119, the fourth column over from the left and three down from the top. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hey, I was right. Okay. So then there is that. So as you can see, Akasha at the top, that column Akasha because it's got that more egg-like shape, the black egg. Then your air here, your circle, blue circle, fire, all the fires here, which will be red. It should be red. Um, water's all here, the crescent moon, and then Earth, Prithvi down here, which will all be that gold square. Okay. Now, as we said. So Zeus is water of fire. You know that water and fire are elemental forces and part of the existence forces of which the physical universe consists of. And you know that changes in the functioning of these forces and what constitutes good or bad effects on this physical plane according to how these changes affect you. And the object of your talisman is to persuade, along with all kinds of prayers, supplications, petitions, pleas, calls, beseechments, implorations, invocations, and entreaties. All these actions are made basically for the purpose of altering physical circumstances, which are present manifestations of the present action patterns of life. Can we say local astral light combinations? Also, do not forget that there appears to be strong evidence that the present unwanted adverse actions of the present astral light combinations in your life are of your own ignorant doing or of the doing of others about you. So therefore, so that's one reason why it's so important to really come to know thyself. What's up, everyone? Just coming in. Dang. Well, welcome in to all of you coming in. If you like this content, be sure to stick around and smash the like button. To know yourself, know your thoughts, because the more you sit and observe your thoughts and those around you and yourself, the more you'll really start to see what thoughts are not yours, what feelings are not yours, what. But until you do that, you'll just kind of wonder. And especially for those of you who are kind of more naturally psychic or more of an empath, then you're going to just kind of, it's kind of like your nature to be swimming around in all of that. And so you really want to come to know what is you and what is everything else. And that is, to digress real quick, one big reason for casting a magical circle. A magical circle delineates everything inside this circle is me, and everything outside of this circle is not me. So that's one thing I've tried to always do, even for like just sitting down for a meditation. I've tried to make a real habit of casting a circle beforehand. You'd probably benefit from doing the same. Okay, let's get back in here. So, therefore, many answers to prayers and answers to successful talisman workings are often merely a stopping of what you are doing wrong or influencing the astral light in the wrong way. And this stopping can be brought about by you by preparing the talisman and studying all the factors involved, and thereby gaining some conscious insight into what is wrong and making conscious connections. Again, let us return to the Zeus talisman. I suggest that you place your birth talisman on a large sheet of paper and then put this 4x4 Zeus talisman card on top of that. The main symbol on this card, later to be transferred to parchment, should be the water of fire symbol, the red triangle with the black and white half circles on it in the center of the triangle. Once this is done and outlined in black ink and made ready for painting, you can proceed to place on the empty space on the 4x4 card any and all symbols that pertain to Zeus or to what object you are asking the talisman to perform for you. Beatrice Aromo. Jesus does love us all and Jesus loves you. Welcome. Good to have you here. Hey, Zeus, Jesus, huh? Okay. There are some other Zeus symbols, such as the astrological symbol, for which you all should know. If you care to take the trouble to make the symbol hollow, as such, you can paint inside the symbol the color blue as Zeus's color. Also, Zeus's place on the tree of life is the fourth Sephiroth. So you can put a 4 there too somewhere and also make it hollow and paint it blue inside. Yeah, and if you're not familiar with what the symbol for Jupiter looks like, which he's talking about right here, the astrological symbol, it looks a lot like a number 4. So you could even draw like I don't know, maybe make the crescent moon and the cross kind of big and hollow, like he said, and then maybe put like a line of a 4 in there. That'd be sick, huh? And then paint it in. Just a thought. Just a thought. Experiment with it. You're the artist, you're the magician. Also, there are some other symbols pertaining to Zeus, such as the symbols in geomancy, which you can place there too. You will find the geomancy symbols in the 2-volume set of The Golden Dawn by Israel Regardie. When your physical symbol talisman is as complete as you are capable of making it, and you have consecrated it, and with the ceremony of your choice, excuse me, and you have consecrated it with the ceremony of your choice, you can then add some other additional reinforcement techniques to the talisman. For example, you can put the talisman in a suitable size box and then fill the box with picture symbols of the material things you are hoping to come to you through the agency of the talisman. This is part of a creative visualization technique, but I can see no reason why you cannot add it here indeed, or indeed make any type of combination you desire, as a talisman operation is a sort of creative visualization operation. You can find the pictures of what you want by looking through magazines dealing with that particular subject in which you are interested in, and any and all subjects in this world are represented by some publication and usually with illustrations. These illustrations are what you cut out carefully. I will add that if you are a somewhat skilled artist and you feel comfortable drawing up a little representation of it, that's just going to probably be a lot more powerful in my experience. But if you're not, don't sweat it. It's still going to be plenty powerful to do it this way. These illustrations are what you cut out carefully and put, in this case, somewhere near your talisman, which you created to bring your similar real things for your enjoyment and pleasure. Incidentally, to digress a little, this physical life is a very complicated thing, and many objects that you may think, it's supposed to be think, and many objects that you may think will make you happy, you might find later when you possess them that the mere physical possession of these objects will not automatically bestow some such a magic bag called happiness. Oh, Sunshine Chick, good to see you. Welcome. Glad to have you here for this final session of Ophiel's Talismanic Magic. Hope you're having a good day. Okay. Yeah, that right. Because how much do we hear about how many people think that money or material things will bring them happiness? They go through all this time getting all their dream house, dream car, whatever, and then it doesn't actually bring them happiness. It might for like a really small window of time, but it wears off pretty quick. That's why my Gnosis's current book read with Maharaj is just so invaluable. That's the true wealth right there. Shout out to you, my Gnosis. Much love, man. Okay. Also, when something like this happens, do not yield to some old crab's croakings saying gleefully, I told you so, etc. No thing in this physical life is ever going to be perfect, and don't expect it to be. That's in bold. I'm going to read that again anyway, because yes, no thing in this physical life is ever going to be perfect, and don't expect it to be. As a member of the human race, which is allied to God in some mysterious way, and the connection is through the subconscious mind, and this alliance is up to you to discover and develop, and thus escape from manhood to godhood, and to escape a lot of hereafter earth trouble. But the biggest, quickest way to handle the earth plane is to know that it is not perfect and never will be, and this situation is to be expected. And this unperfect imperfection is due mainly to clashes and conflicts between the small bundle of forces called a man or a woman and the great bundle of forces called a physical cosmos. And when this clash occurs, it must be recognized for what it is and handled accordingly. One of the best ways to handle a clash is to know what the clash you feel depressed about is due mainly to a conjunction of a couple of minor planets out there registered down here through the moon, and that the depression will pass away soon. But in addition to this knowledge, and it is as true as earth things are true, I tell you that you do have the same personal powers everyone else has, and that many of your troubles are due to the poor self measure of your own amount of personal powers, unthinkingly looking on the poor aspect of situations rather than upon a more cheerful aspect. I know this to be true because I catch myself doing this even now. And I have to remind myself all the time how well off I am. Yeah, you'll benefit greatly. You guys want to you want to get a quick little practice in that you can do every single day. So I do this. I actually, speaking of talismans, I have a couple of talismanic bracelets I've consecrated to the primary goddesses I work with. And you can just take one of those bad boys, and on each bead, recite something you're grateful for. Either go on a walk, or even as you're sitting in your meditation posture. Those are easy because it's just you can it can be a quick one too. But if you make a discipline of doing this at least once daily, you are going to little by little train your mind to start dwelling more in that gratitude. And so, even more so, going into what I was saying earlier about knowing yourself, it's going to be even more easy to recognize when all of a sudden, yeah, these depressing type of thoughts pop up, and it'll be a lot easier to catch it and say, whoa, 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 that can't be me. This can't be me right now. No, no, no. I'm well aware of all these things I have to be grateful for. I'm well aware of all the good in my life. So this is a sneaky little trick trying to come along and play me. Not gonna happen. Okay. And just doing a simple thing like this will often reverse your line of thinking and set you to straight thinking and to being receptive again. We did wander far off the subject of talismans, but there is a connection in there. You must be receptive in order to receive. And creating and consecrating a talisman, a connection, a door, a window from the inner planes to here, knowing what you would like to have, what you want, setting yourself to receive. All this good stuff makes for good receiving. And then you must control your feelings and you must be happy. No one can make you happy. You must control that yourself. I repeat, mere possession of physical possessions will not confer happiness, but it will and can help and is your first step. Afterwards, you must study and master the occult magic arts and progressively progress in understanding and personal power until you can control most all of your destiny. All right. All right. Take a quick drink. Shout out to everybody who's been rocking with me. What's the planetary hour? I know we got a mercurial energy and the oh, Jupiter. Of course it is. Good. That means we're abundant in the mind, huh? I'll say. All right. So, the categories of physical existence. Kether, basic inventions, electronics, new basic machinery, electronic guidance devices, radar, x rays, and beyond. The unusual surprises, new ideas and new conceptions, new organizations, space vehicles, new basic research of a pure nature, the far future ideas. Hokmah, radio, television, movies, extrasensory perception, the psychic, plane travel, drugs, electric power creating devices, static electricity, magnetism, rockets, possibly fireworks and like things, some kinds of fiction and plays. Saturn. This Sephiroth is known as Saturn. It's actually known as Binah. And with him, we are on more familiar ground than with Kether or Hawkman, which are, as you know, the names of the two other Sephiroths we have considered up to now. Saturn rules old people, old plans, debts, and their repayment, mortgages, agriculture, farms, ranches, etc., real estate, death, wills, inheritances, old buildings, fertilizers, excavations, mines, smelting of heavy metals, trees, paper making, but not what is printed on it, right? Because that would go to Mercury, I'm pretty sure. Landlords and landladies, landowners, antiques and antique dealers. So a book is a combination of Saturnian and Mercurial because the paper and then the writing on it. Real estate offices and agents, carpenters, except as noted later, steel construction workers, concrete manufacturers and workers, stone masons, lumber yards and forests, paper pulp makers. Oh no, they were right about the masons in the Saturn black cube matrix. Oh no. Jupiter. This Sephiroth is called Jupiter. Actually, it's called Chesed, or Zeus in Greek. He rules pioneering in the sense of development, speculation, gambling, improvements of all kinds, especially development, abundance, plenty, growth, expansion, generosity, spirituality, some visions, divination of the past, some long journeys, bankers, creditors, debtors, development of something already in existence, financing of a speculative kind, not mortgage type financing, basic advertising, business exhibits, influencing other speculativity, leadership, some advanced medical work, some kinds of basic research based on already condensed pasts, personal, social, and financial improvements. Most advertising, as said, especially if products have a heavy basic nature, rather than advertising personal services, gaining personal favors, especially of a financial nature, not mortgages, rules stock exchange and speculative stocks, not so much bonds, which are in effect mortgages. Also, he's really letting you know that mortgages don't fall in here. Also, doctors, as said, but not surgeons, and especially improvement kinds of medications from new research. Mars, the Sephiroth is named Mars. It's actually named Gebura or Gevura, but it's ruled by Mars, or in Greek, Ares. He rules war, energy, anger, body vitality, and body magnetism in the sense of both. See, this is what I'm talking about, where Ophiel can get a little confusing at times, but that's not as much as he's really helpful. Body vitality and body magnetism in the sense of both resulting from exercise of a solitary exercise slash buildup, not a competitive sport. Dentists and dental surgeons, surgeons of all other kinds, police, barbers, who were the first surgeons, slaughterhouses, hence butchers and meat processors. But live cattle in the field or range are ruled by Saturn. Carpenters and those who build by cutting down and fitting anew, or who create by reworking or altering some basic things or materials, and the engineering attendant upon this kind of activity. All the kinds of businesses attendant on the above activities in contrast to service type businessmen. All types of contractors attendant on the above. Mars rules the FBI and the Secret Service, CIA, also sheriffs and police, also the Army and the Navy, and all the machinery pertaining thereto, tanks, guns, battleships, all war things, the Pentagon, War Department, sex energy, especially sex energy used in and by male animals in the matters of aggressive mating processes, all herd protection processes, rules the adrenal glands thereby. The sun, or Tiferet, The Sephiroth is called the sun in many systems of Kabbalah study. Yeah, actually, it's most always called Tiferet, Ophiel. However, we have been giving these Sephiroths Greek and Roman names, so we will do so here. Apollo is the most common name given to the sun god, but this name, Apollo, is of later origin. The next older name is Helios, and a still older name is Hyperion, or the sun behind the sun. The sun rules superiors, employers, executives, officials, power and success, illumination, imagination, mental powers, health matters in the sense of maintaining health by a diet and exercise, outdoor/nature types of actions. Apollo is the son of Jupiter and partakes of many of his near allied functions. Also, almost all of the things ruled by Apollo are of an immediate nature, not future or past actions. Apollo ruled actions are more in the nature of regulation/maintenance actions like picnics, fairs, hikes, etc. Some judges and courts are ruled by Apollo, so you could say Apollo rules the lower courts while Jupiter rules the higher appeal type courts. Venus. This Sephiroth is named Venus. That's Roman name. The Sephiroth is actually named Netzach. Greek name Aphrodite. This goddess rules art and all arts and artists, music, extravagance, luxury, self indulgence, all beauty, all pleasure. Women, not housewives, younger people, both sexes, decorative furniture and or articles for the home or office, parties and associations with friends of both sexes, perfumes and all the sweet scents, all aphrodisiac drugs and medicines, personal love projects, furs, jewels, and party dresses and gowns. Also, all fashion designs and designers, hairdressers, manicurists, cosmetics, hair dryers, beauty parlors, some part of the theater having to do with love plays in contradistinction to more serious philosophical plays. Also, much opera, especially lavish spectacles, some political favors, especially those due to love and intense friendships. Display advertising of luxury goods, luxury shops, and luxury departments of large stores. Painting and painters, artists, and even some degree of commercial art connected with luxury goods, jewels, especially emeralds, all jewelry, pearls, ornaments, and jewelry stores. Mercury. This Sephiroth is called Mercury. Roman name. Sephiroth is actually called Hod, or in Greek Hermes. He rules business matters, authors, and their writings. The written part of all contracts, mental judgments, short travels, business buying and selling, giving and obtaining knowledge/information, stocks and investment bonds, not mortgage bonds, are ruled by Hermes. But the stock exchange itself is ruled partly by Jupiter. Telegraph lines, cable lines, and telephone companies, and the new communication satellites. All that is written on paper, but the paper is ruled by Saturn. Business shopping, bargain hunting, business/work organizing, foreman employees, universities, colleges, and all schools, college professors, and all teachers, editors, books and magazines, booklets, etc., analysis and statistical gathering. Some medical matters, especially the parts pertaining to the studies and research on and of disease and sickness. The basic medical field is partly ruled by Jupiter and the Sun, Hyperion, Helios, Apollo, also some moon, Artemis, Diana. Hermes is connected rather closely with medicine and prescription remedies, but surgeons are ruled by Mars. However, there is some little overlapping, which they're also on the same side of the pillar. So keep that in mind. They're both on the pillar of pop quiz for the couple people here. Pop quiz. What pillar are they on? Okay. However, there is some little overlapping. Science is closely allied to Hermes, especially applied science, education, philosophy, and thus First, laboratory and then practical applications. Okie dokie. Moon. This Sephiroth is called the moon. It's called Yesod. Instead of the usual Greek and Roman goddesses, which are Greek Artemis and Roman Diana. See, he's funny. Like now he'll just call it the moon. Whatever. It's not that big of a deal. The moon rules the general public, women, short journeys, long journeys ruled by Jupiter and Mercury. St. Christopher is Mercury Hermes. Change, and I'm pretty sure if St. Christopher is the one that for Catholics they will like pray to or petition, you could say, for safe travel. Changes and fluctuations. The home, not the house and grounds, but the metaphysical home. Even a room or apartment. Housekeeping, cooking, baking has some Saturn in it. Flour is ruled by the moon, but grain is ruled by Saturn. Putting up preserves, washing is moon, but ironing is Mars. Ironing is usually done on Tuesday. Tuesday, Mars. Shopping for ordinary foods, babies and small children, yet unborn babies, making butter or cheese. The vegetable garden is ruled by the moon, but the ground by Saturn. Milk and milking and separating milk from cream. Much animal husbandry, especially food animals rather than horses, which are ruled by the sun. And the answer is that it's the pillar of severity, is the pillar that Saturn, Mercury, and Mars are all on the tree of life. Okay, so this should be the last, this recapitulation. So we'll go ahead and do that, and then guess what? We did it. We finished Talismanic Magic. Once we've read that, of course. We haven't finished it yet. Recapitulation. As I said before, I am going to present the subject of this book in more than one way. I know this is not usual, but then occult knowledge, true occult knowledge, is not a usual thing, and just does not lend itself to regular presentation in an easy manner. Hence, this recapitulation. Bear with me. I am discovering more and more that all magic and indeed all physical life hinges on and is dependent on the existence of a hidden agent. Uh-oh. And in the case of the occult magic study we are doing here, a magical agent. Excuse me. The existence of this agent has been slash known has been known slash suspected for untold ages, both by those primitive peoples who drew magic talismanic images, pictures on the walls of caves, for good hunting, down to modern psychologists who sensed the existence of a universal subconscious, which is the it of all in all. We have spoken elsewhere in this book about the strictly matter side of this magical agent and how that side of the magical agent functions. Now we will treat of another aspect of the magical agent and its connections with talismans. For the purpose of making a start, and with no immediate reference to origins of things as such, we can consider the philosophical idea slash concept that there exists another double world, a through the slash a looking glass, or on the other side of this one world. Once you stop still and reconsider this concept of a double world, all sorts of interesting ideas come welling up into consciousness. First, an object, any object you see on this physical plane, has a duplicate on the inner planes. This first duplicate then goes on back up the rest of the inner planes to the near top plane, where it ceases to exist as a form and becomes an idea only, and then on up to an archetypal idea only, and then on to pure energy feeling. then passes on out of this physical plane world on up to the great beyond, of which no one knows a thing and which is of no real concern to us at this stage of our study and evolution. It should be obvious to any knowledgeable thinking person that the understanding of the doubleness of manifested existence could suggest all sorts of expanded possibilities of physical manifestation which should be taken into consideration in our every physical action on this physical plane. Elsewhere, I wrote a little vignette lesson calling it How to Become a Power in Your Own Town, Job, Club, etc. This lesson contains good directions as how to use some of the phases of the doubleness of all physical things to accomplish certain ideas. The directions are a bit different from those that follow and probably should be studied by you if you feel so inclined. You should find this lesson good reading. Now, to resume the talisman idea in connection with the doubleness of all things in your daily life/living. You then are surrounded on all sides by things, material things, which are the outer, hard exhibitions of inner realities. Only the thought, the basic thought of things, the archetypal patterns are real. The outer physical plane exhibition of those archetypal thoughts are the resultant and are not the real. Right, there is no spoon. This type of reverse thinking is what will help release you from the thrall of matter. Now, in the way that you expand your wait, I think that's supposed to be daily. In the way that you expand your daily thinking so that you regard these outer physical manifestations as usable sources of power, is the different way you can make talismans out of your environment. Maybe at this point, I had better repeat the ordinary idea of a talisman. A talisman is an object which, when magnetized/charged, creates an incoming source of power/force. To your immediate sphere, now recall all I said previously about the great magical agent as a life, water flowing, sweating, soaking idea. As I said, the concepts we are working on here now are rather different from the stuff given in the books by Solomon, in which he gives all kinds of talismans for luck and other definite matters for which we see the greater key of Solomon, and also the little companion book, the lesser key of Solomon. Also, see Francis Barrett's book, The Magus. Again, I say, I am not recommending these books in order to make a huge profit from you. Ophiel is a Capricorn, ruled by Saturn, and you know Saturn is the exposer. So, even if he wanted to, Ophiel could not cheat you with lies and hypocrisy. So, do as you please about the books. I bought them myself long ago when I had no resources to speak of at all. So, this then is the picture you should now have of yourself and your environment. In this sense, I'll switch you up. There we go. Okay. In the sense that we are discussing here. Take for example, take for example your home. There is in your home, there in your home, you are surrounded by a mass assemblage of material things/objects. You know that these objects are outward, exoteric, externalizations of inward, esoteric images/feelings. It is possible for you to turn to any one of these external objects and, by invoking it, carry yourself back to the beginning of all things physical. Conversely, it is also true that you can start with basic archetypal images slash concepts and create slash direct them down into your environment, your sphere of availability. See Ophiel's second book, The Art and Practice of Getting Material Things Through Creative Visualization. Now, you should have some good, clear ideas as to why talismans work, and also why creative visualization can work. I will apparently digress here for a space and tell you about some things I do for a certain purpose, and then tie it in with the talisman knowledge. As you know, there are many people slash persons slash organizations purporting to teach the occult, now in existence, some new, some old. Ophiel has contacted many of the persons and groups in due course of passing times, and he has evolved a quick test question which he propounds to the people, and Ophiel can make a fair approximation of their occult standing by the nature of their answers, coupled with the manner in which the question is answered. Now, don't take this too seriously. I use it only on suspected persons when I do not detect any outward sign of anything on the occult ball. The question I ask them is this: in regard to your teachings or the teachings of your group, etc., if I follow slash master the teachings, can I get sex, power, and money through the application of the teachings? Now, I will explain part of the question and tie it in with this book on the principles of talismans. Basically, sex is polarity, but not all polarity is sex. In simple words, there is you and what surrounds you, your sphere of availability. Also, let us this time call it your sphere of sensory impaction. This sphere of sensory impaction, which surrounds you, either stimulates you one way or the other, up or down, or you stimulate it. This stimulation is the measure of your success in this physical life. Either you take hold and make your sphere of sensory impaction your charged talisman, or the incoming sensory impaction will control you, will charge you, and will make you their talisman. Yeah, I'll tell you something that goes for the spirit work, especially things like Goetia. This is what I mean when I say sex. I mean sex in its higher sense and not in its lower sense. And if the person I am asking the question of is advanced, he will sense my true meaning and answer accordingly. So much for that. And you figure out the higher meanings of power and money. So now, back to the talisman idea slash principles. In this chapter, I have presented the heretofore occult secret. Solomon never spilled a word about it, and neither did Barrett. One of those big occult secrets you hear so much about. Well, there it is. Your environment slash surroundings, your sphere of sensory impaction is one gigantic talisman. Your environment slash surroundings, your sphere of sensory impaction or sphere of availability is one gigantic talisman. Right. And the Hindus talk about the mandala of your life. And how you treat slash handle slash charge it is the measure of your success in living your physical life. You must generate, draw, and pass through your body a great amount of force, astral light power, so that you charge your surroundings, magnetize your surroundings, to use the older word, your sphere of impaction, to use the new word, so that your surroundings become saturated. Revisualize the astral light as water, as taught previously. with prana colored by your body personality. You do not create any prana. Prana is another useful name for the four elemental forces, and the four together collectively create the fifth called Akasha. And all of these elemental forces together combined are called prana. This prana, because it shines or glows to the inner sight, is called the astral light. This prana flows into this physical system, symbolized by the diagram of the tree of life, into the top and proceeds on down. Another suggested name for this substance is undifferentiated elemental substance, often mentioned by Dion Fortune. Keep on the lookout for these descriptive words that different people coined, and you will find that many of them relate to the same thing. This control of the incoming sensory impacts can be gained in other ways other than those magical ways as given in the chapter on charging talismans. This other kind of control is done successfully all the time by thousands of people. Witness the Rockefellers and Morgans of oil and finance, James Jerome Hill of railroads, and others too numerous to mention. Is it just as simple as the billionaires have a better quality of prana? Is that what it really boils down to? Hmm. This control of the incoming sensory impacts. Oh, I read that. You should read and study the physical methods these men used to gain that control. Yeah, because wasn't it? I swear it was Swami Vivekananda even what met with. I'm pretty sure it was one of the Rockefellers. I don't know their names. It was like I don't know. But back in their time, this was like 100 years ago, and yeah, like Vivekananda, Vivekananda put him on some game. So all this idea that I don't know, the world's out to get you, and there's all these evil plots, and just man, some of you got a lot of time on your hands, that's for sure. Not the ones here, because you guys are using your time wisely to come here and study and learn this. You know what I'm talking about. Okay. You should also read a small paperback book by Paul Getty. He gives a very good outline of methods which border very closely to magical methods. Good thing he didn't know or believe in any magical stuff, as with his ordinary physical drive combined with magical methods, he would own the whole world. Oh, man. Those physical methods sometimes work as well as the magical methods, but now you will be able to make use of both methods in your future life's work. Much of the slash your future life's work you will have to work out for yourself along your own personal and individual lines as contrary to the advertised and impression. Sorry, hold on. I was trying to reread the same sentence. We'll start that over. Much of the slash your future life's work you will have to work out for yourself along your own personal and individual lines as, contrary to the advertised impression the contents of magical books give, they are only basic guides. No one can run your life for you but yourself. No one can make a talisman for you but yourself. Right. And nobody can do a pentagram ritual for you or work with a spirit for you or just do these things on your own. What I have said in this chapter is somewhat new, in that I have connected up several other lines of different thought to show that back of everything physical are a few great basic facts, and that these facts can be used in many different ways to accomplish many different kinds of results. And now I'm not saying don't do like group workings, but definitely make sure like that these people are people you want to do group workings with, especially like summoning spirits. You know what I mean? Like because anybody who's ever done group magic knows that it's just way more powerful than trying to do it by yourself. But that's it's that's when it's going to be in a group of not only people who really know what they're doing, but also people who are worth doing it with. But quit paying people, quit going online, quit paying people to, I don't know, to that you think are going to do this stuff for you, that you think that, I don't know, because especially in the West, we're taught this real transactional like approach to life. You know what I mean? And yet you're just not going to be able to pay anybody to make you a master of anything, really. I mean, sure, you might learn a couple cool little things, you might learn some tips and tricks, but oftentimes, was it worth all the money you spent when you also could have just gone and like read the same books that that person read, or just spent the time that that person spent doing the stuff? Be patient with yourself. So, to repeat again and say it in another way, again for emphasis purpose, you open yourself to the further flow of prana through you. Just knowing about it opens it up for a start. Thinking about it does it too, more. And as your flow of prana increases, so does your flow of power. This is really all there is to it, except as you learn to increase and intensify the flow as you grow. And this growth merges into control, the aim of all occult practice. And that's control of what? Not everyone, not the world, not all the people who upset you. No, that's control of who? You, yourself, your life. Okay, so here we finished it. Congratulations. Big round of applause for everyone. It took us about 10 months, but hey, we did it. Nonetheless, we did it. So here's his list of recommended reading. He has The Greater Key of Solomon, The Lesser Key of Solomon, Gailey, Classic Myths in English Literature and Art, Ledbetter and Besant, Thought Forms, Max Freedom Long, The Secret Sciences Behind Miracles, Prasad, Nature's Finer Forces. All of these by Israel Regardie, A Garden of Pomegranates, The Golden Dawn, The Middle Pillar, My Rosicrucian Adventure, and The Tree of Life. By A.E. Powell, The Astral Body, The Causal Body, The Etheric Double, The Mental Body, The Solar System. By Dion Fortune, Avalon of the Heart, which is one of her fiction works. But I mean, I still haven't read any of her fiction, but I've heard that there's some sauce in there. So I'll get around to it. The Cosmic Doctrine, The Esoteric Orders, and their work. Nice. The Esoteric Philosophy of Love and Marriage. Hey, shout out. I read that one on this channel. You can go check it out. I did it all in one sitting. It was like a almost 6 hour, I think, long video. Five and then some. I'm pretty sure it was like 550, 555, maybe it was. Duh, Mars. Anyway, that one, yeah, that one was one of those ones that I really had to rethink some things after that one. That one, but Dion has a way of doing. I mean, all of these authors who are worth picking up their book and flipping through will do that to you. Okay. The Goat-Footed God, the Goat-Foot God, another of her fiction, The Mystical Kabbalah, Practical Occultism in Daily Life, Psychic Self-Defense, Sane Occultism, yeah, definitely that one. The Secrets of Dr. Taverner, fiction. Through the Gates of Death, yeah, that one really, that's another one. I mean, a lot, man, Dion, yeah, she is great. She's definitely great when she's not, I don't know, letting her Dion Fortuneness get in the way. We all do it, right? Human type. The Training and Work of an Initiate and The Winged Bull, fiction. By Ophiel. The Art and Practice of Astral Projection, the Art and Practice of Clairvoyance, the Art and Practice of Getting Things, Material Things, through Creative Visualization, the Art and Practice of the Occult, the Oracle of Fortuna, a correspondence course in the Foundations of Occult Knowledge, a correspondence course in Astral Projection. Those last two are from his vignettes. And then, well, then he also has other vignettes here, but well, I don't know. I feel those weren't really his books. Those were more things he sent out to his students. Of course, he had some correspondence courses, and then he had the vignettes listings too, which he has here. How to become a power in your town, job, club. How to create a familiar to help you through life. How to control and dominate others. how to alter your name into a magical name, the power of speaking things and conditions into existence, the power of the lost word. Oh, that's his first series. So then from his second series of vignettes, he has You and Your Desires, the God that is in my mouth, some ideas about God, the symbol method of astral projection, the thread, aura seeing, Prometheus and Epimetheus, what they mean to you, self awareness, the occult faker, some aspects of witchcraft and American Indian shamanism, work on all planes, the philosopher's stone, shadow against substance, and what you deserve. All right, there it is. There you have it. That's the end. We did it. The whole thing, even as recommended reading. Congrats, everyone, to all of you who rocked with me through on these lives. Thank you so much. This one was cool. I like this one a lot. Um, so yeah, I'm going to read Crowley's Book of the Law on a live stream. I'm also going to read his some of his libraries, like I said. But the thing is, most of those are pretty much all of those. Thank you, True Goddess. You're very welcome. Most of those are going to be something I can read in like one session. I mean, some of them are going to be really fast. A couple others might take like an hour or two, but definitely those are going to be kind of more, yeah, like a one sitting type of thing. So for the next actual book to dive into, um, I'm thinking, I don't know, maybe I'll put up like a little poll and we'll give anybody who is interested in maybe just making a vote one way or the other. Then you can choose because I kind of want to do a yoga book, but I also kind of want to do obviously like I kind of want to do a witchcraft book. I kind of want to do I'm really tempted to just go ahead and do a Kabbalah book also. So it's like maybe a poll will be best. And then again, if nobody really speaks up, then maybe I'll just do whatever I feel like. But I like to, this isn't about me. I do this because I want people to actually learn some things. Again, I don't consider myself a teacher, as much as I just consider myself somebody out here doing this. And so I might as well invite those of you who are also doing this to study with me, to learn with me, to engage in certain practices. So with that being said, hey, once you got it, facts. Once you got it says it's so hard to choose, LOL, and never too much Kabbalah. Yeah, that's a fact. That is a fact. I love studying Kabbalah. But I'm sure you remember that one of the yoga books we read in the car. Um, I'm not gonna say the name right now though, but I'll message you. I'm real because that one was short and that one was so fire. You know what I mean? Also, Swami Vivekananda's Raja Yoga is just like so good, literally so good. So on the yoga side, I'm toying between either that Bihar book or else maybe Swami Vivekananda's Raja Yoga. I'll put up a poll. I'll probably just put up a poll and then we can give everybody like a week or so to vote. And in the meantime, I'll see you guys with some lessons from our dear old Uncle Al. Yeah, you don't want to sleep on what Crowley had to say because if you think what Dion said was good, well, we're gonna read Crowley, and then you're gonna see. You're just gonna see because Crowley was really such a valuable contribution to basically all of this. Thank you, Uncle Al, and thank you, Auntie Dion, and thank all of you again so very much. Okay, enough yapping. This has been Ophiel's Art and Practice with Talismanic Magic, read to you by your dear buddy Jay Balder. So much love. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. See you soon about the Crowley, and quit resisting. May nature give you what is prescribed for you, and may you quit resisting. Start to flow. Be like water. Oh yeah, the Tao Te Ching. That's another one I might, so she's there's just so much to read. Love to you all. Bye bye.